I'd like to read something. Just thinking about hello everyone online. Hope you're well. It's the ideas of tanha. And tanha for me is a kind of basic primal restlessness of consciousness. So the kind of like kama tanha I look at as consuming, consuming experience. And I don't mean just kautom, right? Consuming is like thoughts. You can be thinking all the time. So it's like the consumption of experience. And in English way, like in English, we say you are consumed by thought. We say both ways. So the idea of kama tanha being like an eating or experiencing or looking, and which then is always a reference to that which is changing, to experience. And then Vibhavatana is the kind of always resisting, not wanting, uh, all that which doesn't want this experience the way it is. And then the Bhavatana is always this need to become or to get or to achieve or to do something else. So those basic primal energies, shall we say, and attitudes um, create a kind of consciousness which is never still, obviously. And yet we want to be happy. We always want, that's our basic instinct to be happy. But we make a mistake thinking that happiness is through experience. It is and it isn't. If I feel uncomfortable, I can move to become uncomfortable. To become comfortable, sure, that's natural. But there's a deep, 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 deep stillness in consciousness that we cannot access if we're always paying attention to some experience. So the irony of avijja, of ignorance, is that even though we seek happiness, we look in the wrong place. Worldly happiness, yeah, if you want to put sugar in your coffee, fine. If you're hot, you put on the air conditioner. If you're cool, you put on a sweater. That's just ordinary sensibility. But tanha is this kind of constant underlying restlessness, let us say. So the deep stillness of the mind is not, you don't get there by doing something. You realize it because it's always there by observing the desire to do something. So by observing tanha and not engaging it and believing it, tanha begins to settle down and you start to touch the deep silence and happiness of consciousness of the mind. So it's kind of it's counterintuitive. Well, if I want to be happy, I should do something to be happy. And that works in terms of comfort, maybe. But this is different. This is much, much different. Now, this reading, and Yom Vibhun is going to make some more copies, so you can all have a copy. This is very profound, and it'll also be in English. So it's the kind of literature that you could work for a lifetime. It's a poem. You could take one quatrain and look at it for 2 months. It's that kind of reflection, and yet it's quite long. And it's the Hsin Ming. I don't know if I pronounce it. It's from the third Chan patriarch. You know Chan? Dhyana is Sanskrit. Jhana is Pali. Chan is Chinese. Zen is Japanese. And Chan Bodhidharma was the starter of Chan in 6th century China. And this is, I think this is third Zen patriarch, so maybe 8th century AD in China. And the translation is by a late teacher called Rupert Spira, who's an Englishman. So let me read it to you. And it is very deep and profound. Hopefully not so profound that you fall asleep. That's profound. But, you'll have a copy and you can look at it for the rest of your life. So here we go. To be at peace and content is not difficult for those who have no preferences. When likes and dislikes are not present, everything becomes clear and simple. Make the smallest distinction, however, and you will be exiled from the realm of eternal happiness, which is your home. If you wish to be happy and at peace, then hold no opinions for or against anyone or anything. To set out what you like against what you dislike is a conditioned habit of the mind. It is a recipe for unhappiness. When we allow the appearance of things to veil reality, our innate peace and happiness is disturbed to no avail. Our essential being is perfect, like boundless space, which is complete itself with nothing lacking. It is our rejection of what is present, or our seeking of what is not present, that determines whether or not we feel the peace and happiness that are our very nature. Do not lose yourself in experience, but do not turn away from any experience. Be free from all experience, but completely open to all experience, and your innate happiness will shine forth. Do not think that the activity of the mind is a problem, or that the cessation of its activity is necessary. To attempt to stop the mind's activity is itself the mind's activity. Neither lose yourself in the mind's activity nor engage in the effort to still it, but simply be knowingly the witnessing presence of awareness, and your innate happiness will emerge from the background experience. Your true nature of pure awareness transcends all experience, and yet it is immanent within all experience. To assert or deny either aspect is therefore to miss the nature of reality. It is not possible to think of reality or to express it in words. To know the nature of reality, it is necessary to know the nature of one's own being, which lies behind all thinking and talking. We invest our happiness in changing things only because we have forgotten or ignored our being. If we want lasting peace and happiness, it is only necessary to return to one's being. Do not search for happiness. Only cease allowing the thought, I don't want what is present, I want what is not present, to run your life. The slightest like and dislike with respect to experience veils our innate happiness. Do not reject appearances in favor of awareness, for it is infinite awareness itself that shines in and as all appearances. When we stand knowingly as the presence of awareness, nothing can disturb us. And when a person or thing no longer disturbs us, we no longer see them as separate from us or as a source of happiness or suffering. When we no longer divide our experience into good and bad, right and wrong, desirable and undesirable, the personal self vanishes, for it is created and maintained only resisting, holding, or seeking. In the absence of a separate subject of experience, the separate object or other dissolves, and their shared being is revealed as the experience of love, of beauty. An object only seems such from the perspective of a separate subject of experience, and a separate subject of experience can only seem to exist in relation to an object. As such, both the subject and the object are in reality a single, infinite, and indivisible whole. Knowing this, we make no judgments, and neither prejudice nor opinion obscures our vision. To be established in peace and happiness is neither easy nor difficult. It is simply to know and feel oneself as the presence of awareness, with which all experience is known, in which all experience appears, and ultimately out of which all experience is made. For one whose life is determined by resistance, holding, and seeking, everything they do simply compounds their unhappiness. The more effort they make, the farther they are from happiness. Ultimately, even the desire for enlightenment is the desire for something other than what is, and is, as such, the very activity of suffering itself. On the other hand, we simply abide knowingly as the presence of awareness. There will be neither resistance nor seeking, and we will live free, undisturbed, and fulfilled. When our thoughts and feelings are governed by resistance, holding, and seeking, we no longer see things as they are. We make distinctions and judgments only because we overlook the unity of being that underlies all people and things, and as a result, become upset and exhausted. Nothing of value comes from it. For one who is established in their true nature, and as a result allows things to be as they are, the goal of life has already been fulfilled. Such a person seeks nothing, holds on to nothing, and resists nothing, and is therefore at peace and content. For one who is lost in their thoughts and feelings, life is a constant battle of resistance, holding and seeking, and thus they are rarely at peace. Everyone's essential being is the same. It is only when our essential being is qualified by experience that distinctions between people arise, and thus conflict begins. To seek our being with the mind is a mistake, for our being lies at the source of the mind. It can never be found as an object of the mind. Activity and inactivity, like and dislike, good and bad, right and wrong, gain and loss, all come from ignoring or overlooking the underlying unity of being, from which all people and things derive their temporary name and form. If we do not allow appearances to veil their reality, our innate peace and happiness will pervade all experience. If we do not resist what is present and seek what is not present, experience will lose its capacity to veil its reality. One who remains established in and as the presence of awareness will not lose their self in the content of experience, and as a result, peace and happiness will prevail. Such a one will not separate their self from any experience, and as such, love and beauty will shine in their experience. It is our likes and dislikes which confer independent existence on people and things, and as a result, our share being is overlooked. To understand this is to be free from experience, even in the midst of experience itself. In this condition, preferences simply no longer arise. The peace that is the nature of our being is equally present in both activity and inactivity, and therefore it has no preference for either. In the absence of any distinction between activity and inactivity, we cannot even call it peace. Thus, it cannot be defined by words or restrained by any law. One who is in touch with the peace of their essential being no longer negotiates experience, From the vantage point of a separate self, such a one is free. Our essential being is like empty space. Nothing leaves a trace on it, nor does it hold on to anything. For one who is established in their true nature, thoughts and feelings add nothing to their self, nor remove anything from it, and thus they begin to quiet down. Everything simply is as it is. In reality, there is no separate subject or object of experience. There is no self and no other. This absence of otherness is love itself, from which nothing is separate and nothing excluded. The recognition of one's true nature is independent of the content of experience. In this recognition, the relative value of things in time and space, whilst remaining, is outshone. At every moment, experience is always a single, infinite, and indivisible whole, where all such definitions would refer to parts of the whole. Wherever we look, it is all a manifestation of the same impersonal, infinite, intimate reality, which admits no boundaries, distinctions, or differences. This reality cannot be debated by the finite mind. It assumes the names and forms of 10,000 things without ever being, becoming, or knowing anything other than self. To understand and feel this is to live a life of peace and joy. It is the origin, the path, and the goal of the non-dual understanding. It cannot be spoken of, and yet all words speak of it. There is no path to it because it is that alone which is always and already present. Turn towards that, and it will take you into itself. It won't. So there's your homework for a lifetime. Even if you understand like 10% of that, it's just there's so many profound uh, reflections, I think, in that. And it is a kind of peace that what did he say? And that's a good question, isn't it? I don't get that. And then you read it over and over, and then you come back to it 10 years later and you look at it again. It's that, it's contemplative literature. And I think it's one of the finest pieces of literature in Buddhist in Buddhist history. For those of you online, we'll send the link.